Well, here we go.
Already logged in. Let me try and work this out.
Aloha, can you guys hear me? Okay, hi everyone. Is anyone planning to share their video, any videos, or share your screen at all? So we want to try practice that to make sure that you can all share the videos with the audio. So when you share screen, there's a little box in the left-hand corner that says share system audio. That will let you share your video with the audio. If you don't click that box, then it will show without audio. And then if you're sharing, is anyone planning to share a PowerPoint at all? Okay, yeah, so then that's fine. But mostly for videos, you want to make sure that you click that box before you share your screen. And then if you have any issues, you can let me know and I will try my best to help you out.
Sorry, I don't see the share screen icon.
Icon should be by the mic icon.
It's the little monitor thing.
Yes.
You guys want to wait a little while, or should we start? Thumbs up to start.
Wait 1 more minute and then you guys can go ahead and start.
Oh boy, William Richards is in here. How's it, Uncle Billy?
Yeah, I guess we'll start. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, mahalo everybody for joining. I'm just gonna go straight into it. So there's 4 of us, native Hawaiian filmmakers. We each created our own short film. On the screen, you see Justin Ah Chong down on the sidewalk in Waikīkī. ʻŌiina, Paikai underneath, Hawaiian soul. Then Thai Sanga, Hawaii. And then me, Keliʻi, Moana boys. So we just want to start out and say mahalo everyone for joining us. I'm going to try and moderate this, but I think we're going to create sort of like a podcast between us. So we're just going to explain, what we do as native Hawaiian filmmakers. And I think we'll start out with introductions. And we'll go in order of our films. And I think Ty, you're gonna go first, yeah.
Yep, I'm going chronological. So
Yeah.
aloha mai. My name is Thai Sanga. Directed this short. What we're gonna do is just show our little trailer so you can get a feel of who we each are as filmmakers. Hopefully this doesn't mess up and the audio plays. So 1 second. Oh, did that not go?
They have already put the queen on trial and imprisoned her, humiliated her. They will not be so kind to us.
We are at our worst. We must act now for the kingdom.
We have not stopped fighting, and we must pick our battles carefully.
I need you to trust me. I know this is confusing for you. I also cannot sit idly by while this land is ravaged by greed.
It is settled then. We move forward.
I believe in Hawaii. Do you?
Cool. So that's my short film. Who's after me? Is it ʻŌiina? Oh no,
Yeah.
Keliʻi next.
So me. And just to let everyone know, we're just showing our trailers to each film. So it's really short. Just if you don't know what a trailer is, it's just a short clip of and preview what our films are. And we'll each introduce ourselves with a trailer after, and then after that we'll talk about who we are as native filmmakers. Sorry, Ty, did you leave your microphone on when you were sharing that?
I did, because I didn't see the share volume button that she mentioned on the left. Were you guys able to hear the audio?
Yeah. Leilani, is there a way to share? Is there a different button that you press to when you share the video?
I think it's in the corner, the left corner says after you click on the share screen, the new tab will have a bottom left corner.
It should be the share system audio one.
Okay, hopefully mine works.
When is this gonna be over?
You gotta keep trying to kill us. We gotta do something.
You don't do that. Why's being killed?
Well, we can't do nothing.
Who's next? You. Me.
Say nobody's fault. We're in it right now. Hand it over.
It's not a I just acting tough. Nobody getting hurt.
We fight or we die.
Did you put that gun down?
Kind of.
Mahalo. Yeah, aloha kako. My name is ʻāina Paikai from Waiau, Pro City, Oahu. I was the writer and director of the short film Hawaiian Soul about George Helm. It came out last year in 2020, and we're still doing our best to show it to whoever is willing to watch it. And I will be sharing my screen right now. Is that working?
No, it's
Yeah,
Okay,
I
stopping.
just choose the video. I think you have a choice of choosing the desktop or just the video.
I only see like a window or Chrome tab. Jesus. Okay, hold on.
Window, and then it should pop up with your video.
Nope, that looks wrong. Can you see it now? Because I have it up now. No.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay, wait. What if I put it over here?
Yeah, try go share screen. And then does window not have the option for you to do a specific window, like the gist of your video?
It only has my Chrome thing, my Chrome tab.
Oh, that's the only one it lets you show.
Yeah, for some reason. But I will find it maybe on YouTube real fast.
I wonder if you have to do that that security setting. You know, the one I sent on the text. You might have to add your, which means you have to reset your Chrome.
well, Windows.
But I'm a PC. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's different.
I'm just gonna share it via the window, the YouTube.
Actually, I just downloaded it. I'll share it from mine. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Fading flower, ye bloom, ye
Mahalo, Keliʻi.
Hello, Nikako. I'm Justin Ah Chong from Mililani, Oahu. Happy to be here with these guys, all of you this morning. I'm going to be sharing the trailer for my short film called Down on the Sidewalk in Waikīkī, which came out in 2019. ʻāina is actually the writer. Ended up being the lead actor in the film as well. But it's a story that kind of uses the poetry of the late Wayne Kamaliʻi Westlake, and yeah, it is meant to honor his poetry and his work. Let's see. Is this working?
To give my poems bite, I sit all day down on side in Waikīkī, watching the lake limit. Down on the sidewalk. Down on the sidewalk in Waikīkī, I see.
So many laurels.
So I think we want to talk about what these films are, like what it means to create a narrative or nonfiction film, because I think most people are familiar with documentaries that are created here in Hawaii, and we want to talk about how maybe each of us have transitioned from where we started and where we are now. I think I'd like to start out with you, Ty, because you know, you've done a lot of stuff with broadcast and documentary filmmaking. Can you explain to our audience what documentary filmmaking is, and then how you made a transition to this narrative filmmaking, and what narrative filmmaking means?
No, mahalo, Keliʻi, for the question. And mahalo everyone for kind of dealing with all these technical issues that we've been, you know, trying to navigate through. You think as us filmmakers and technicians, we should be good at this, but new app, so we're all learning. So thank you for being patient and kind of watching everything. For each of us, you know, that what you saw was a piece of our souls, you know, on screen. So I started, actually, my passion came in documentaries. I fell in love with filmmaking sitting in ethics studies class, watching ʻAina, Sand Island Story. Those are the stories that got me interested into filmmaking. So when I came back home to Hawaii, it was kind of natural that I kind of went that path at first. A lot of my things that I do is do a lot of documentaries for Kamehameha schools, a lot of the pre-show and song contests, and I've been doing that for the past 10 years, which, you know, for us, the big part of that, and I'm sure everyone else can kind of share this mana too. I think even ʻŌiina has a little bit deeper about our moʻolelo as Hawaiian filmmakers, but documentaries is all we had, you know, in telling our stories. No one was telling any of our narratives. We were basically erased from the media, and the only people that would do it were the ones that picked up the cameras. Some of them were allies, some of them were Native Hawaiians, but once we started seeing images of ourselves on screen, that shifted in us, you know, that allowed us that almost this freedom in some ways of seeing ourselves on screen and seeing what, you know, we could be, our future in many ways, what we hope to be, our dreams, nothing, and also authentic versions of ourselves, not this kind of glossy Hollywood perspective. And so for me, you know, with working in documentary for the past 10 years, I think it was a natural transition and evolution to kind of go into fiction, you know, fiction storytelling, narrative storytelling. You know, we all love movies. We all love imagining. We all love, for us as filmmakers, our role is to make dreams happen. A lot of our films are dreams that we've had. Hi Hawaii was a dream that was with me for a long time. It's, you know, it's inspired by events around the overthrow of the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy. And for me, I wanted to kind of remember all of the patriots that existed during that period. I think what was missing from a lot of our histories is all of the patriots that fought for the Pono action, you know, fought for the kingdom, fought for the queen. And a lot of their stories are gone from our history. So this short film was kind of just to get people excited about that history, just to be curious and learn more. You know, so Hi Hawaii is it's about this young kid that is recruited to steal the Hawaiian flag on Annexation Day, you know. So just that for me is just like, if I was a young kid growing up watching something to be excited about, I kind of wanted to see that, and that's what I wanted to do as a filmmaker. Not, I don't know what that noise. I don't know if there's any. Do we talk about process? Should I talk about that, or?
I just want to jump in real fast about like a little bit more, I guess, of the documentary histories of Hawaii. So yeah, like Ty said, kind of the first introduction to where Hawaiians were able to tell their own stories was through documentary. A lot of people look to Nawako Ka'aina as the beginnings of that, I feel like. The makua, I guess, in terms of us Hawaiians, and specifically Puhipo, kind of using it as, in his words, as like a weapon or a gun. It was a way for him to fight back and put our voice that was severely lacking in media at the time as to a way to say, hey, this is how it is, this is how we see it. And so him personally being evicted from Sand Island, putting the camera in his hands allows him to shoot back and say, no, this is what you guys are actually doing to us, or this is how we see it at least. And whereas from whatever news stations and whatever was just like, get them out with the old in with the new, we got to build an airport, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter what they're going through and their fishing culture and whatever histories that used to exist in this ʻāina. And so that was really, to me at least, kind of the four pushing that perspective. And then Namako Ka'aina, along with Joan Landers, who is a strong ally and partner of Puhipau, made this huge, extensive collection of Hawaiian focused media, and basically captured as many of the ʻŌiwi Hawaii moʻolelo that existed at the time. Also, Punana was brand new, and so all of this stuff that was really giving the Hawaiian Renaissance, as we kind of call it these days, giving it life and kind of showing us the people that were being born at the time, as well as those to be born, at least as time stamp in Hawaiian history. And then I would say the torchbearers after that was ʻŌiwi TV, which me and Justin come from. Also very rooted in documentary and news. And so community-based, ʻŌlelo-based, basically the beginnings of it was a haʻi ʻŌlelo ola to have more Hawaiian language in, I guess, popular media on, KHNL and KGMB. And just and that was like 2008, and so from then till now, still they've been capturing kind of the ongoing history of what we're going through as Hawaiians, and continuing to tell our stories and have us Hawaiians be on screen, and having that being an empowering motive, I feel like, to get more people involved in storytelling. And so me and Justin are really lucky to kind of have that foundation in terms of our media training, as well as our kuana ike in being Hawaiian and being a media person. And a media person really having its foundations in Hollywood, I would say, or Western kind of mindset. And so the two don't really necessarily jive, but we've been kind of, with the help of our mentors like Na'alehu Anthony and folks that have kind of carved out this space for us to continue that. I guess I would say we were branches of that kumu, that tree. And so yeah, it's really been exciting. Me and Ty were at the Academy for Creative Media in the beginnings of that, and also their kind of mission was to shape Hawaii stories by Hawaii's people. And one of our mentors was Merata Mita, who was also very strong in indigenous filmmaking and documentary, I would say primarily. And so again, we're kind of just like these offshoots of what else exists in the media landscape, and what can we provide. And I think that was the exciting part of this like new frontier of like, no one's really done this stuff yet. And but this is more or less what we all watch when we go home. Can't say that I turn on a documentary when I go home to like decompress. I like to watch something that's kind of fun, and but still, I think in the way that we're approaching it is entertaining and educational. And I would say, at least for Hawaiian Soul, with the story of George Helm, who died before I was even born, give access to a new generation of like who this man is, what his message is, and have him still teach us, but in a cool, kind of fun, engaging, entertaining look. And then open that book at least, and then then they can flip their own pages to find out more about this guy. And so that was the idea, and I think similarly to everybody else.
Yeah, mahalo, you guys. I want to kind of shift to speaking about documentaries and I think the roots of where we come from. As ʻŌiina said before, him and Justin came from ʻŌiwi TV, and also both you guys went to film school. So your roots are in film, but also in the beginning of ʻŌiwi. Justin, can you explain what your transition was to this narrative way of storytelling, and how you and ʻAina came together to create this. Because Aina's a filmmaker as well, but he kind of switched his role and became a writer and an actor in this. And I think out of all our stories, yours might be the one that is not using so much a story that's already in a book, I think. Because me, ʻAina, and Ty came from like this historical stuff that has already been told in other ways, and we put it onto a screen. So can you explain what the process is to create a narrative film that is really kind of made up from your mind and then put onto a screen? Can you explain that process?
Yeah. Sorry, can you guys see me? I said
We can hear you though. We can hear your sweet voice.
Perfect.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Perfect. Who wants to see our faces anyways?
Wow, that's crazy. I can see all four of us, but okay. Well, somebody else in the chat can. Okay, right on. Yeah, I'm Keliʻi. Yeah, for myself, I really wanted. I had a passion for filmmaking and wanted to, wanted to grow up and make movies. I realized that when I was in middle school at Kamehameha, and it kind of all stemmed from this project that I had done in my English class. Borrowing my mom's VHS camera and kind of just trying to write a script with my friend and put this thing together. And it kind of failed miserably, but I was so in love with the process that it drew me to want to learn more and not make the same mistakes and actually put stuff out. And so through high school, I took production classes, but at that same time, going to KS at that time, a lot of things were changing in that I think starting to incorporate a lot more Hawaiian culture into a lot of the classes. So like the English classes I took were Hawaiian and Pacific focused, the literature. My teachers in 10th grade was Saki, is an amazing teacher and literary person, and he's actually the one that coached me to do to create a film based on the poetry of him before Westlake had passed. And I'd spent a number of years organizing his unpublished manuscripts into an anthology of his work, and sort of spearheaded this project to use his poetry and create songs, and artists create like visual artworks. And so he asked if I would be interested in maybe interpreting it into a film piece. And that's kind of where me and ʻAina have been working for a number of years together at ʻŌiwi, and we both had this passion for wanting to do scripted films and narrative stuff. And so we looked at this as an awesome opportunity to do just that. But I think back, in high school is kind of where I really learned more, like Hawaiian language, learned more about my Hawaiian history and culture, because it's not something that I had grown up with in my family. And also realizing that, man, our stories, these histories, like in movies, right, they don't exist. And so when I was applying for colleges, I just applied to film schools and got a chance to go to USC for film school in California, but knew that I didn't see myself living there. That I knew I wanted to come back and movies here, all those stories. So definitely I had Lehu guys on ʻŌiwi TV while I was going to college, and it created an opportunity for when I graduated to come back home and work there. And so for me, I had always been interested in wanting to do scripted narratives, but going into working at ʻŌiwi is actually what opened me up to the documentary and community building in that way. And so for me, it was an opportunity. I guess I put narrative filmmaking to the side and just built up my technical skills in terms of shooting and editing and producing and things like that through ʻŌiwi. And then, you know, after a number of years there, it to finally be able to go back, especially when Richard gave us this opportunity to explore Westlake's poems in a creative way. And so we sat with the poetry, we sat with the music, and just started to kind of envision characters and scenarios, ways to incorporate the poems using the cinematic language. And I think, you know, the difference, I feel like it's when you look back on 3 that like, and ʻŌiina was, you know, I think it's a natural start to like start in the documentary and news realm because it's not as resource intensive as making like a narrative film. I mean, but usually it doesn't have to be, right? It can be one person picking up a camera and shooting the events that are happening and going on and piecing together in a meaningful way. It doesn't necessarily take much, but I think the kinds of things that like these short films that we've been sharing, that we've been kind of creating over the last couple of years, you know, the budgets are a lot higher because they require more crew, you're higher cast, putting sets, you're being very intentional, I think, in every single image that's on screen, as opposed to sort of just pointing a camera and being in a space, in a place and time. And so I think it is natural progression to then to short film. We're continuing to expand, and in a couple years, us and many others will be sitting here talking about feature-length movies and episodics, you know, because again, you know, when you think about it from the lens of resource, it's an even higher step up from these short films. I'm not sure my videos out, but
Yeah, mahalo, Justin. So we just spoke about your transition from your work at ʻŌiwi and then going into narrative nonfiction. For narrative filmmaking, I know you said a lot of it is intentional, you know, and it takes a lot more time, a lot more resources. I think between all of us, we now understand how, you know, how much time and money this takes. Can anyone explain what it took for their film to actually make it onto the screen? So these are short films, you know, 10 to 20 minutes long, but it takes sometimes years and thousands of dollars. Can someone share their personal experience on what it took to get it from conception all the way till you see this trailer and the film? Can anyone share?
Sure. For myself, or we were lucky enough, I think, to be blessed when Down on the Sidewalk in Waikīkī had applied for Pacific Islanders and Communications Digital Shorts Fund. Oh, that's a lot. And they had just kind of opened that avenue up to narrative filmmaking, which previously it was solely documentary for a long time. And that really just opened the floodgates to a lot of us guys really getting a chance to have at least seed money to get started on shooting a narrative film, because previously, you know, you had to balance work and raise enough money and also take out time off of work just to work on the passion project. And so mahalo to Pick, first of all, for kind of creating that. And then when it comes to at least a short film, it ranges, I think. But I would say for what we tried to pull off, many of us, in terms of period pieces, which are, you know, pieces that are put in the past or take place in the past, that could cost quite a bit to make it believable, which is the ultimate goal. Because once it's not believable, then you kind of tuned out of the show, you know. And so we had to look for all of that wardrobe and locations and cars and stuff to kind of make it look and feel believable. And so for Hawaiian Soul, I know that we had gotten a big chunk of money, I'll say $10,000, to get started. and then spent all of it to get to Molokai, and then landed on Molokai with all of our stuff, all of our crew, all of kind of the dates lined up, and everybody starting to arrive. And then I had to go to our producers, specifically Justin, be like, so we don't have any money to fly back home. And everyone was like, okay, what do we got to do? And basically I had to borrow money from our fellow friends, thank you, Justin, to basically find enough money to get back home after our days. But I didn't even want to worry about it. It was we were come from also from ʻŌiwi TV. We were also embedded in the va'a, and so the va'a training was like, let the lines, we're gonna go, we're gonna figure it out, and we're not gonna worry about how to get back just yet. Let's go find the island. And then so we did, and it's all kind of embarrassing. I think there's parts of me where it was like, oh, you know, I should be more professional and know how to handle these things like a budget, which I don't. But this was also a part of the training. I think my first attempt into learning how to manage a budget and figure out how much these things cost, and also be, you know, supporting our industry crew, you know, who get paid really well by folks that hire them outside of Hawaii. And so if we're going to try and stand up to that same standard, which is what these people are worth, then we got to find, you know, the right budgets to make it worth their while to take time off of their work schedules to work on our thing. And so anyways, long story short, long story long, that it took more money than we actually had. But once we had it, had the film in the can, so to speak, that people were more positive in wanting to help us see it through. And so that was a lesson for me. That was like, sometimes you just got to go, and the proof is in the pudding. And ideally, you know, if no one's going to believe in you as much as you to start off. And so once you can kind of show them what you were talking about or imagining, especially in the film world, then there's more chances of you succeeding, and also people, less of a risk for them to support you. And so money exists, right? It's floating everywhere, and there's all different avenues into getting that. And so I think people want to see these stories, especially the stories that we're telling, especially our Hawaiian people. And another kind of learning lesson is that, yeah, our community is there to support us because they want to see this stuff. And so that's the exciting part about this new chapter in filmmaking.
I think we've all been there, ʻāina. Budget and money is always a difficult part of filmmaking, but it's something that we need to create. I want to talk about you know, our way of filmmaking, or ʻŌiwi filmmaking. I think most people, when they hear of making a film, they automatically think Hollywood, Hawaii 5-0, you know, NCIS, a bunch of big trucks coming in and taking over land and messing up our stuff. Like, I want to talk about our process with ʻŌiwi filmmaking. It's different than the traditional Hollywood process of filmmaking. On one of our notes, it says Hollywood equals time is money, get out of my way. So, you know, when Hollywood productions come here to create stuff, they got huge budgets. They can just pay off and get wherever they need to go, pay off wherever they need to, and create whatever they want, you know. And for us, it's a lot more difficult because we don't have the budgets, we don't have the monies to create stuff in that way. So we have to turn to different resources and our own process. Ty, I wanted to ask this question because I know how hard it is to shoot at Iolani Palace, and the amount of money I'm sure you had to get to, you know, get all those costumes and all those people involved. I'm sure the bill went pretty high. Just looking at the trailer, can you explain what your process was? What resources you needed to get? And I think, you know, ʻāina spoke about, you know, people coming together and just, you know, taking it for the team. Everyone believes in the story. I believe this is like, you know, indie filmmaking, they would call it in our world, but it's really like community filmmaking to me. we all have our own strong communities, and if we need to pull resources, call in favors, like our people is right there waiting for us. So I'm sure you had to do that as well, Ty, for your process. Can you explain that with making Hi Hawaii?
Question. Yeah, I mean, it's the same exact. We love it because we all share the same experience in regards to getting our project started. Yeah, each and every one of us. Because this is our passion project. This is something we do on the side, on top of our regular jobs. So like, for the process for shooting something like Hi Hawaii, I wanted to create something. I mean, I've been making movies for a while, but I wanted, each time I make a film, I want to keep scaling up. Just keep trying to grow as an artist, keep trying to grow as a filmmaker, but also introducing our community to, hey, these are those types of stories we can really get comfortable with and start seeing ourselves on screen. So for me, with this narrative of the monarchy, the palace is such a huge piece of the film already, and I knew that if I couldn't film at the palace, this project wouldn't have happened. And thankfully that was just it started with a lot of relationships that I've had with them since the beginning. I filmed there multiple times already for commemorative schools. Everything we do in art, like you said, is community. Of relationships we build and relationships we maintain, and if they don't trust you, then I think that for us, we live in this community, and I'm gonna go back to the palace. For the Hollywood films, they come, spend all the money, and then leave, and then don't ever come back. So they don't have that kuleana that we do. And the first part of the process is, having them understand why I'm telling this story, why this specific fiction story of this young boy capturing the flag is an analogy for us as Native Hawaiian people to gather our sovereignty back. So all of these things were part of the process of convincing them, like, hey, can we film at the palace first? It's a big kuleana of even getting there, and it was actually quite easy after that process, because once those doors open, just like community filmmaking, they kind of embrace you, and that you are part of that process. They're part of the process too now. So I worked with Kippen, was there at the time. Heather Jr. was the one that made the deep relationship with them, who's one of my big producing partners in a lot of my other films. Then we work with their partners, Brecker Communications, to kind of help us navigate through, like the logistics of filming on the palace, filming upstairs, downstairs. They kind of gave us the full range of going everywhere, which was amazing. And I don't think they've ever done that to any other bigger productions, but because they knew who we were, they knew that, each day we did protocol, each day we did we went above and beyond just to film there. And I think for us as Native Hawaiian filmmakers, I know that's why we're telling these stories, is to make their stories live. So that's just the palace. For costuming and wardrobe, I mean, man, yeah, the film took 5 days to make, but it took like a year to just prep everything, prep cast, prep wardrobe, prep the script, and that's just, I think for all of us too, like, like when we're looking for actors, Native Hawaiian actors, that's, we have to go further than what the filmmakers in like Hawaii Five-0 and everyone else does. I mean, and those are all our friends too, but they don't have access to the types of Native Hawaiians that we want to see on screen usually. So we have to make that extra effort to go out into the community to, like, hey, like, find that right person to be these roles, find these people that we want to see on screen that would never go out to an audition for Hawaii Five-0 or Magnum or anything else. So that's another big part of the process that, just takes time. I mean, ʻŌiina has a better story for all of that. And then on top of that, because Henry Inian Cusack came from Gerard Elmore, who was part of our community member group of filmmakers. But when he heard the story about our monarchy being overthrown, and You know, he was able to relate it to his wife. His wife is Irish, or Scottish, I'm sorry. And, you know, they're fighting for their independence as well. And they generously gave so much for this film. I mean, one day we were filming at the Palace and we had like 100 extras, not 100 extras, way less than that. We had 50 with crew. It came out to like 60 something people, 60s. And she bought breakfast for everybody. She ordered a food truck. His wife ordered a food truck to drive down and just to take care of the people, our cast and crew, because that's how much the project meant to her. And that's, so that independent documentary filmmaking is the background that we are in. And like my goal is to kind of transition in that to our feature film making process, which is usually not the case. You know, they usually won't take this intentions to go the time to go find these right actors, go out to make these relationships with the communities, to build these bonds that's going to last longer than just the film. But that's what we have to do, and it's like a deeper mission that we're as filmmakers. You know, I think when we get the younger groups of filmmakers coming up from behind us and we're like, hey, I want to tell stories about Hawaii. It's like a bigger kuleana than just that. I feel like I try to tell them like there's much more responsibility. Like, hey, I'm just gonna put a movie, I'm gonna shoot it with my iPhone, and I'm gonna post it on the web, you know, and it's gonna be about Mauna Ala or something like that. Like there's so much other extra things that we have to be aware as, because we're Native Hawaiians, you know, because this is our community, because it's about representation. I'm kind of rambling, but yeah. I want to toss it to both of you. I feel like Keliʻi and ʻŌiina have really great story backgrounds about that, about your guys' journeys in telling your guys' narratives.
Yeah, mahalo Tai. I really appreciate that, you know, telling the process, because I'm always curious about how all you guys go through your different processes. But I think we're all in the same agreement that, you know, it takes a really large community to do what we do, and that was a touching story where you know, she got a food truck and just paid for everybody to eat because they trust in your vision and they really want to see it come out. So I think, like you said, when you build the trust, people will come and people will help when you need the help. And you know, I don't really like to ask for help if I don't need it. But if I ask, people know I'm serious, because I don't really ask for help if I don't really need it. But I want to talk more about the process, because I know we spoke about this before about check boxes with Hollywood. You know, with different shows and films, they come here. The Hollywood filmmaking process is they look for, you know, they're, like you said, they cast and they find location, they pay for all this, and then they have a blessing, and that's like a checkbox on their list of to do. So for our processes of ʻŌiwi filmmaking, it's a super long process, the pre and the post, and pretty much forever, for the rest of our life, we'll have these films, and we have to, you know, make sure that we continue on, and you know, it's not just get it out of the way and it's done. It's a really long, thoughtful process. And I can share a little bit about, you know, my film Ala Moana Boys. I started with an idea with a couple friends of mine, and we're just like, hey, you know, this story, it's really important, and I'm interested in telling it. That was a friend asking me. I'm like, okay, let me look into it more. And as I looked into it more, I noticed the history of the way it was told. It was either in documentary format or book written format. And to me, it wasn't told from this ʻŌiwi filmmaking perspective. Everyone that told it was either not from here or not Native Hawaiian. And to me, they told it from, I would say, a skewed view. The people here in the story from this real true story, I thought was kind of being pushed out. So I wanted to flip that and tell it from what I thought is our view of how we think these people were in this film. So it's a famous the Massey murder trial with Joseph Kahawai, and you know, it was a really long process of creating the film. I started first by visiting Joseph's grave, and actually asking him if it's okay if I do this, because you know, this is a true story of someone getting murdered, killed. So I wanted to make sure I was first doing the right thing. So Ty, you spoke about earlier younger filmmakers. I was at that point at one stage of my life where I thought, you know, I have the technical skills. I'm just gonna go tell this story. And a lot of Kupuna was telling me you cannot. Like, and I didn't understand it because I was so young. You know, I was real, I would say, cocky, because I was learning all these skills. And you know, just because I know how to use a camera doesn't mean you can actually tell the story. There's a really long process in that. And I think we've all learned that process just by trying and sometimes failing, sometimes getting scoldings from people. I know I have, but you know, in the end, we're trying to create something that's really new. I think in our way of storytelling. So we're really at the beginning stages, I think, of this ʻŌiwi filmmaking, and it's super exciting. And yeah.
So I just have a question. Sorry, real quick. What was your like confirmation, if any, from like the grave and stuff? Did you have any?
I it's hard to explain. I didn't really feel, you know, if there was a visual thing that would tell me no, there wasn't any. But I knew it would be really hard. I had my cousin Kihei Nahalea. I asked him before I even started this. I'm like, can you help me? Because it's gonna be hard, you know, for me, like spiritually. So he's like, yeah, I'll help you. Don't worry. So having him on the side of me really like gave me more confidence to move forward. But I gotta say, it was really hard even after, when I was doing the editing process, like watching, like, you know, when we're filming and we're having to shoot these difficult scenes, it wasn't difficult for me at the time because I'm looking at just the technical side. But when I'm trying to put back all this feeling in the edit, I was getting super emotional. It was really difficult because it's like seeing me on the ground, like dying. So yeah, those kind of things are really difficult because we're putting all our heart and our soul into these really important films or stories. And that, I think, that comes with the process. You know, it comes with, you know, I'm reading these words on the notes, like pule. I know I had to go in the water after I finished the edit, and I just had to cleanse like for like a couple weeks. I was really feeling like down, you know, because for those that have seen the film or know the story, it's, you know, it's a really tragic story. So to take that in, process it, and then put it out on screen, a real story, it was difficult, but you know, I knew it was something that I had to do. And I think with the previous ways of documentary storytelling, I think it was similar in how these guys did their process, but they could only use, you know, whatever they could, interviews, pictures. But for a lot of things that we create, you know, there might not be anything available, or very little, very minimal. So I think this new way of narrative nonfiction storytelling is exciting in that way, because we can use different things, visuals, sound, music, and create a, you know, this Hollywood way of filmmaking. We're using that to our advantage, I think, and putting, yeah, Ty.
On the head, because I think it's because of our experience through documentaries that created a protocol of how we handle narrative films. Like in documentaries, you're going to someone's house, but before you go to someone's house with cameras and anything like that, you have to meet them, you have to talk story with them, you have to sit down, you have to make sure that they trust you. You have to make sure the community trusts you even before that too, before you come in. And so like, I think that was kind of, I feel like all of our back, I mean, we haven't written it down on like a piece of paper of like, okay, this is the checklist of how we do it, but it's almost like we know that that's the process, and we kind of, maybe someone will do it, write it down for us later. But like for us, like that's the only way we do film now. Like for me, for sure, definitely, that's how I say it. Like I can only say for myself, I guess. For me, that's how I do film now. Even after making the movie too, that's the second half. And I know you're doing your screenings. A part of our films is going out to the community with our movies and sharing it with everybody and being in part of that conversation, because it's just deeper than just showing a movie. It's part about the sharing. So sorry, guys. Sorry. Yeah.
We you want to open up to questions? I know we have about half hour. Does anyone have questions out here in the chat?
I believe the first question that we got was from Alohi Delima. She said, is there a place to access the entire film? So for each of you, can you describe where people can watch your film?
I guess I'll say something. You can see my film in person, shameless plug, on Thursday at Kawaiʻi Nu'uanu. But other than that, yeah, I think I'm the only one still on the. Oh no, ʻAina's on the circuit still. Yeah.
Yeah, so typically how short films work is that you have like a festival run of about 1 to 2 years. You do as much festivals as you can to get a little bit of notoriety. Is that the right word? For people to kind of see who you are, hear you speak, see your film, what you're about. And so we're still in that process. And Hawaiian Soul has been trying to do community screening similar to what Keliʻi is doing on at Vaivai this Thursday. And so just trying to do as much as that as we can to honor our community, because George's story is most important here in Hawaii, and so wanting our people of Hawaii to see the film. But the name of the game too is to like have people show up instead of like put it online and then it's like maybe it blows up for a second and then it just goes into the ether after that. And so trying to prolong its life is kind of a part of what you try to do when you try sharing short films, especially.
I want to congratulate ʻAina on his showing of his film. If people don't know, he's went to almost all the islands and shown it at communities, just popping up his famous screen and showing it on his projector. ʻAina, can you speak a little bit about that process? Because to me, that I was like, man, this guy is crazy. I don't know if I could do that. I still don't know if I could do that. Like, what was the process? And I know you had to do some fundraising to do that, and that's just been your number one job, is to show your film. Like, what was the process for that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I see you guys doing all your PR stuff, and I'm like, man, how do I do that? But I think one of the light bulbs was HIF was starting to show our film, and I feel like a lot of people were coming to see our film specifically, and so I was like, man, why can't I just do this myself instead of waiting for a festival to kind of operate these screenings? And so it wasn't like too far off, other than like having to coordinate, which is another brand new kind of stuff. But I just realized that actually, there's a process again in kind of the film world of like distribution. But yeah, independently, we're taking our own distribution into our own hands and actually flying the film to, again, more rural communities. I would say Hawaii Island first, and then Maui, to give those people who don't normally get a chance to go to a film festival or even have strong internet connection to do a virtual screening and bring the film to them. And every time we did that, they were so thankful. And like just even being thought of. I think that's the thing about the Hawaiians is just like nobody ever thought about us when they were making their movie. And so they even have a kind of oh wow, you thought about me when you were wanting to show this film. They're just like so thankful and appreciative and giving and inspired even to maybe, you know, learn more about Georgia at least, or if not, get involved somehow. And that was the thing that I wanted, especially when we were in lockdown. It was like this movie was made for a community gathering, I think, to kind of feel each other's energy and all of that. And so just yeah, it still hasn't completed kind of where as far as we wanted to take it, because being respectful of kind of our gathering protocols. And so still trying to do the double dutch and trying to like when is the right time to do it and or not. But we have access and abilities, and this is also maybe a small plug of like if you're interested to partner with us in doing community screenings, let me know and we'll figure it out. There's one comment about how on the continent we can go about it, and for me specifically, it's probably wanting to do the same thing, at least like a West Coast tour where all the Hawaiians I feel like are from, you know, like LA and Vegas and Oregon and all of that stuff, wanting to do that. It does take a lot of effort on my family life, you know, to be able to do something like that, which I learned more about last summer or this past summer, as far as like, you know, wanting to be a rock star and like tour the movie, but at the same time like get Planet Kuleana. And so I would say the continent we are coming, and then at some point it is going to be online, but like I mentioned earlier, that it's more of a process to keep it offline until you absolutely are ready to do that.
That's good, ʻāina. I think I spoke to you about this, ʻāina, but maybe not Justin and Ty. But Eric Kiave had a question. If we're able to take it to Doris Duke. So I'm in the process of trying to get all of our films together in a block to show at the Triennial in 2022 at the Doris Duke. So it'll just be a block of Native Hawaiian films. So yeah, Uncle Eric, yeah, we'll try to get all of us together and maybe a few more if can. But yeah, I'm working on that too. And sorry, I'm just assuming you guys are okay with it, but yeah, I wanna create that block for us at the Triennial.
Sounds good, Mo.
I know Justin kind of we kind of rolled over this, but I learned a lot from Justin about process and kind of connecting to the spiritual, which I think the Hawaiian way of living is. And I think that's something that is hard for us, or myself at least, in a contemporary context, being able to access that and then incorporate it into storytelling in this contemporary way, and us guys being kind of that new age storytellers and the kuleana that we have, especially telling these real people stories. And so I wanted to ask Justin to kind of maybe share a little bit about that particular process with that on the side.
Yeah, I think you know what was said earlier about bringing our tools and we have learned documentary filmmaking and community storytelling in that capacity was sort of this natural move to bring it into, you know, an even bigger project, you know, these narrative films. And I think, yeah, I mean, for myself, for Down on the Sidewalk, it was a huge lesson in just learning to trust the process and like to, like Keliʻi had mentioned, in going to Joseph Kahawai's grave and asking, you know, in those same ways. I know I sat and pulled and asked, you know, Westlake, whose words were kind of interpreting in this film, you know, to guide us to be here through the process, and trusting that, you know, we may have our ideas of what we want and for things to happen, and then logistically those don't happen, other doors open that you wouldn't have realized. And a lot of that, like, I guess feeling it you're na'au and feeling out what feels right, and if and being flexible enough to realize that, okay, if what I thought I wanted to happen is not happening, what are the things that are happening and what I'm being, you know, and then and then how to realize that, what is the story, you know. And so with, I think, casting up, right, like the kinds of that we want to play characters don't always have acting backgrounds, you know. Sometimes they're from our community, have the experiences of characters, that brings that sense of authenticity. And so with On the Sidewalk, we spent, you know, probably 3 or 4 months casting through, you know, Facebook and social media and auditioning people, and just the person never kind of came through, it never felt quite and then I had this epiphany and realized China was the right that, and that he kind of had back for it, for being in front of God. And hey, on to audition this role and just it. And he did. And, you know, he read slides, and I was like, holy shit! First time I can actually see the character that we're trying to do. So it was serendipitous, and then, you know, through it, we kind of later we realized the whole ʻAilona and the significance, and that Westlake passed away was the same year ʻAina was born. And then in the sense of Kuleana, like, if we're the ones writing his story now in this sense, and like putting his words on paper in that way, then it's your Kuleana also embody it. I think I took that serious and spent a lot of time just being Waikīkī, serving, grounding there. The day before we were supposed to shoot for 3 straight days in Waikīkī, like the couple days before, it was like thunderstorming and raining, and it was supposed to be thunderstorming throughout that whole weekend. And didn't know be able to. We had, you know, 20 cast and crew members waiting to go, all that rented and all. And remember, me and ʻAina went down to give food, to set our intentions, what we're trying to do, what we hope to accomplish, and just ask that, you know, whatever is supposed to be, let it be, you know. And then from there, you try. Literally, the next 3 days are magical days. No thunderstorms, no rain. You know, everything worked out supposed to. And then after we finished, the next 3 days, it rained out. So, you know, those processes of trusting and going through this, you sort of realize, okay, I think in that you learn, okay, trusting that choice and setting those intentions in those ways, we see the way things turn out. It's like, okay, let's continue this for the next project. And I think we brought all of those things that we learned on Down on the Sidewalk to Hawaiian Soul, and had to elevate it, because now so you're kind of imagining of somebody that existed who still exists, you know, who's got an opinion and about how it's been. And so I think it was almost next level in, like, for that, you know, we were both given an opportunity to go to Ko'olawe, like 2 weeks starting to film. And myself, I'm the lead actor, Kolea, was supposed to go with of Piko Ohana to go and open up a new space, area called Apu. And for whatever reason, you know, ʻAina couldn't go to Molokai to shoot in like 2 weeks, so he wasn't able to go. So many things came up with Kolea, and he wasn't able to go. And so I felt great, got to go and bring those intents for the whole project, Olave, and kind of sit with those. And it's really interesting, you know, for 2 weeks, being at that church and the meditation that takes the Molokai. And one of the members, who on call Olave, out across the church, realized, holy, we're looking exactly like directly across the Ahupu, sitting on the beach, and on the beach on Ahu, on Molokai, I mean on Ko'ola, looking right across now to where this church is, you know. And so these alignments and these kinds of ʻailona were just confirmations along the way that, okay, we're doing the right things.
Yeah, mahalo, Justin. I think speaking about that, the trust in what you're doing and just kind of letting it be what it'll be. I can speak on that where I came um, from the filmmaking side on crew. I would be on these productions where it would seem forceful in a way because the people in charge are maybe not from here. They have their agenda. They have 4 days to do something, and they're counting on doing it no matter what. And I think we approach things with our process in that way, where we have the trust, and therefore we usually get blessed with something that we need. But I think with a typical Hollywood production, they're coming with maybe different intentions sometimes, and it might not end up the same way. And I've been on productions where they get upset at the rain. I'm like, you can't get upset at the rain. It's supposed to rain. Maybe it's telling you you can't shoot today. If it was me, and if it was my production and it rained, that's just a sign like I'm not supposed to be shooting today. But some people don't understand that coming here. But I think all of us know that when things happen, it happens for a reason. But that's something that you can't really teach people when they come here. It's just like we have that in us, and that's that whole process. And yeah, Ty, you probably have something.
I just want to just really fast. I know we're running out of time, but I want to sneak in because it is. I think I definitely feel like as being a filmmaker is definitely spiritual in everything we do, and that we're being guided in many ways. When we were filming Hawaii, we needed to do a pickup shot of in the course stairwell. When they're placing the flag down, and we couldn't find a place, and we're struggling, and all the places that we wanted to drop down, and we're like, oh man, what's going on? And we just so happened to find a friend that had a house, or the mother-in-law's home, and it was beautiful Storewell, beautiful home in Manoa. But as we're filming there, one of our crew members was walking around the house because it was kind of like a historical space, and she looks at a pamphlet, and it was like they have in that home has remnants of Dole. It's actually taken apart from those old house and built in that house. So we were filming in this house that was reconstructed with Dole's former house, and we were stealing the flag from that place. So it was such this chicken skin moment that when it all kind of aligned, it was like, damn, this is perfect. It always happens that way. You have to kind of trust the process because you're kind of guided in many ways. I don't know if it's just because we're Hawaiian or something. We're thinking we're like paying attention to those things, or but that's what's different from us and other filmmakers, I guess.
No, I totally agree. I know all of us have had experiences in that way. It's kind of scary. At least for me, it was scary at first because I was taught in this Western way, but to let go of all that and trust in the process of what we're doing now, it to me was scary, because I was taught you got to do it this way and that way, and time and budget and all this stuff. But when you actually let go and trust in the process, then it actually ends up the way it should end up, so it's not so forceful. But yeah, I think to some people it's really scary because sometimes it's down to the wire. For Ala Moana Boys, I didn't get the final music until the day before I had to turn in the film. So, but I trusted. I'm like, but a lot of my team is not from here, or not Hawaiian, so they every day just like sweating bullets and worried, and I'd have to just explain like, that's just how it is. That's just gotta trust. I want to point out a few questions. Hey Tiare, she had a question on is there a hui out there comprised of other Hawaiian filmmakers for Kanaka who may have stories that and want to work with us? I don't know if there's a specific group, but we're out there. I think that's what we're all working on as filmmakers, is to create a space for that, for people to come forward with stories and to create more. But I think we're at the beginning stages. We've all done our own work and I think now, I spoke with Justin and ʻAina before, like I think now we're all ready to kind of combine and come together as a hui and create a space, a safe space for people to come learn and figure out how to tell more stories in this new way.
Yeah, to add up to that, I think like 10 years ago we were like knew of each other, we're still kind of strangers, and then like getting over that hurdle of like, oh, I like hang out with this guy and talk story a little bit more, and then more recently we've had actually chances to work with each other, which we've never had, I feel like, until recently. And so I think slowly like the hui is being identified. Whether we become like an actual hui organization, well, we'll see. I would like that, but I don't know. You know, I remember like 10-12 years ago we were like hanging out at Kaliko Mai's house, and like we should have a hui, and then what's the name gonna be, and then it just stopped. All conversations after that, we just like got stuck on the name. So that's where we're at as filmmakers, just figuring stuff out.
Merata Mita used to get us together when she was alive. She used to, on Thursdays, I can't remember what days it was, we used to just drink ava with her, and just a small collection. But then I think Kaliko wanted to continue that, so that was why he initially did that. But maybe we should definitely follow through with all of that now.
Hey, Ant, I see Ant over there. So.
Yeah, I think it's coming. She had one more question, and maybe you guys have something you can say, but do we have any influence on whatever is being developed now by stuff like Disney and the misuse or cultural appropriation of language? So I can speak a little bit about this. I don't have influence directly on these things, but I think what we're all trying to do is create our own productions, our own content, so we don't have to rely on these productions that come in here. I think if we can be on the forefront, if we can be on that same level as them, then maybe they'll search for us and be like, okay, can you direct or can you produce this thing that we're bringing in? It's called, you know, Dr. Kamealoha. You know, like, oh yeah, we have a Hawaiian director, Hawaiian producer, and I think Ty knows. There's a writer named Chris Bright that is really connected to Disney, and he's told me, and I think Justin told me that a lot of these producers that come here, they don't even know what Hawaiian is. They just think you're a person that live here, or you know, and they don't know that we exist as filmmakers, directors, cameramen, actors, even. So I think what we're trying to do is create this content, these productions, so that we're on that same level, and they can recognize us as, like, you know, that we're ready to play ball with them, because I think we are. I think we have all the talent, and really that's, for me in my own productions, I want to put our people right up there in the spotlight, like be in front of the camera and behind the camera. That's really my top priorities. So I don't think we have too much influence right now, but we will soon enough. I think we will. Anyone else have to add on that? I think we got a few more minutes.
Yeah, not specifically us. I think there are consultations, and Jason Lee's mentioned that the Hawaii Film Office has some kuleana in terms of, I think, how appropriate you can be. And I think even the Kume Aloha thing was like, it was supposed to have a kahako over the ah, and it was just like, why, you know? And so there was an actual conversation, at least, and I think they changed it. So, but honestly, I haven't watched that show, and it's one of those things of like, yeah, I'd rather make my own than have to deal with those guys. There was another question, you know? Education. Hey, Tiare had, what educational pathways do you folks recommend for aspiring Kanaka seeking to become a filmmaker?
Well, you know, all you guys went to some sort of film school. I didn't go to film school. I think, you know, there's not a formal way, I think, to to learn about this. But I think it'll take time. It's not you can't just be like an 18-year-old. Oh, I want to be a director and make a film. I mean, I don't want to be the grumpy uncle saying you got to put in your time, but I mean, we all put in our time, and we had to learn. Like, I think to me, that's one of the best ways to learn, is to learn by doing, to learn by watching. I've grown up learning just regular things in life by just like observing, and I think we all learn by observing. All learned by just the process. You know, like ʻŌiina and Justin went through ʻŌiwi TV. They learned a lot of structure with that, and a lot of technical skills. So yeah, I think there's no like formal one path to creating a film, but I do think that you need to put in a lot of time and work and effort if you want to do the stuff that I think we're doing now.
The resilience and passion, because there's a lot of heartbreak in filmmaking. There's a lot of heartbreak. But if you're passionate enough and you're resilient enough, then I mean, yeah, you can create some good stuff. And you just need to go and make movies. That's all you need to do. Just go and make movies, then you'll learn the best.
Yeah, I was gonna say for educators who I think Heitiare is like giving assignments that have a video element. That just like I remember being an intermediate and having to do like some news story or whatever, and gives you just a little bit of insight as to what it takes to like do stuff. I would say generation now is like way more in tune with how to edit stuff and make it cool, way cooler than we could, us uncles can ever do. And so like they already have kind of, I feel like, that access to that. But if you kind of encourage that in the educational environment, it gives them a chance to like make something fun, which I think Justin had that same kind of experience, and then really just kind of launched him into, this is what I want to do, you know. And so I would say that's a good pathway. And then other than that, yeah, it's as many as you give to the group, maybe only one actually like is inspired to do it, but then that's all, you know, just more. We just need more of us, I think, to kind of really expand the depth of Hawaiian perspective in stories.
And like I said, it's still new. This whole way of storytelling is super new. So there's going to be a lot who follow us with the next generation of storytellers, filmmakers. We're creating a space, a safe space for them, I think, right now, and paving the way, I think. Great stuff. And Jason, UH West Oahu, yeah, they're doing some big stuff out there with their film school. I think UH West was mostly broadcast before, but now they're going more into the film stuff. With focus on native Hawaiian storytelling, yes. I think we got a couple minutes, guys. Any other closing things we want to talk about? I think we need to make a podcast for sure. I think we need to start this.
I think we need to be able to like interrupt each other. We need to like study podcasts a little bit better, because I feel like
I think we got to be in the same room together. I think that'll be easier.
That's true. And I feel like maybe a shot would help that.
Yeah, a couple maybe.
Can you say that over here? I don't know. Whatever. I just said it.
I think so.
No, yeah. I think film school is definitely not the only path. It definitely helped understand structure, but there's literally a website that says no film school that teaches you even more than I've learned, I feel like, in school. And so many avenues to just, yeah, it has to be a desire to go.
Desire, a passion, yeah. What authentic audiences, film festivals or other, would you recommend for high school haumana?
Authentic audiences. I would say the most authentic I've had is kind of these community ones. I feel like this 5x1 coming up for you, Keliʻi, is going to be really like intimate, which I feel like allows for these conversations. Whereas, you know, say you put something online and whether it goes viral or not, you never really get the interaction with the audience. And so I think creating kind of a community space is probably the most genuine. And it has to be, yeah, it's very vulnerable, any kind of art, but for filmmaking especially, you have to really just like, in my experience, having to be vulnerable to allow people to put your heart up there, and then let people tear it apart. And so, but I remember in film school, that was one of the more exciting times. You know, it was just like I kind of craved that feeling of being unsure, but at least I put it out there. Like I stood up and said, I put my voice out there, you know. And so I think for our Haumana, that nervousness, energy of what are my peers think about my stuff, but making it safe, allowing for everyone to be critical as well as like supportive. One good lesson I learned from film school is always say what you like first, and then say the thing that it could be worked on, because that makes the blow a little bit easier. And so I would in anything that you do, I would say do that first. I like this, but maybe you could work on this.
In person, you know, intimate settings, safe settings would be best. I think the high schools now are, you know, they're so used to this online virtual world. It's cool, but I think to get really good feedback, really good interaction, it has to be in person. So yeah. Okay. Mahalo everybody for joining us. Podcast coming soon with the boys.
Get girls too, though. Get girls too.
Boys and girls, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful female
There
filmmakers.
is a lot of wonderful wahine out there, yes.
Mahalo, everyone.
Mahalo. Now we're just reading.
Going too fast.
Dead air. It's not what you have on a podcast, guys. But it's edited, so we could edit it.
It is edited.
I think we're supposed to return back to the main stage. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we getting kicked out?
That is a wrap, I believe.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Cut.
Somebody cut this.
That's a wrap. Kathy Kapua, do you have a question? I don't know.
We're just cruising, yeah.
Yeah, we're just cruising.
Already at 19. So.
There's a leave button at the top right.
Okay. Mahalo, guys, then.
Okay,
Yeah.
shoots, guys.
Thank you. Shoot.
Yeah, mahalo.
Shoots.